Welcome to another edition of the Papa Shro Knows podcast, Chiefs Kingdom. How about that win last week? I think that's what I'm going to jump right into first. With last week, the divisional round win, of course, hugely hyped up for this AFC championship game. Going to be mostly a preview of that AFC championship game. I think both sides, both fan bases, very excited. Both teams very amped up for this game. Coming up this Sunday evening, we got the late game, NFC championship game going on early. So I'm going to stick with football. For the most part, I'm going to try to keep my podcast direct to one thing or one sport, one genre, if that makes sense. So mainly it's been Chiefs stuff, obviously, because the football season is right here at the end, ramped up. Planning on getting some baseball stuff in there too once baseball starts going up. But each podcast will kind of have its own theme to keep it for, if you just want to hear about football, got your football stuff, one area, one episode. You ain't got to sift through anything. So I think that's going to be the route I plan to go with all of these. I don't think that I had said that in the first two episodes. I know that first episode kind of meshed everything together with 2022's best moments, but man, just getting straight into that Jags game. Really fun game, exciting, somewhat of a nail biter, to a point, especially with the big story, Patrick Mahomes going down with a high ankle sprain that was said during the game, and the fact that this week he's not even on he's on the injury report, but he has no designation for Sunday. He will play. Exciting. It's been a crazy roller coaster of a week. The betting lines going up and down, which has been kind of funny. Chiefs open up as favorites. Then the Bengals were favored there for a minute when we didn't know about Mahomes' ankle, and now it's pretty much come back to a pick 'em. We'll see once we get to Sunday where those lines will be at. I'm sure they'll be fluctuating throughout the weekend. But back to the Jacksonville game last week. Chad Henne, man, shout out to him, coming in, orchestrating a 98-yard drive that ended in 6 points. Absolutely huge. To come in and get the first down off the same play that won the game against the Browns in that divisional game, absolutely insane. Chad Henne is a Chiefs legend at this point, Kansas City legend. That man really has come out here in the most clutch moments and really solidified big games for the Kansas City Chiefs. So shout out to Chad Henne. Saw a cool story, develop over the week, and actually through the New Heights podcast, which I got a clip from that to play here in a little bit. But ended up, Kelsey threw the ball that he threw the touchdown on, and threw it into the crowd, and they on the podcast said if we could get that ball back for Chad Henne, that'd be awesome. And I guess the fan, whoever caught it, came through and delivered the ball. So Chad Henne's got his first playoff touchdown ball to keep for himself. But the performance from Patrick Mahomes, that was pretty amazing to see in the images of, lifting him up and carrying him off the field off that final touchdown, and the defense to step up in such a major way. This is exactly the game that I've been asking for all year. I've been writing on the Substack, so if you are, if you want to check that out, this podcast is available on Substack, whether you're listening here or not. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or on Anchor, listening to this, also have a Substack, Papa Shro Knows. And, I've been writing about that all year, though. It's just the perfect game. It seems like every time the offense was on, the defense was off. Every time the defense was on, the offense was off. So it felt like this was the perfect game. No turnovers, clean game for the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday night. It was big. And to prove that you can do that in the playoffs against a playoff team, and that Jacksonville team is no slouch. I know that they were kind of the unexpected team this year. To kind of get to where they were. Even winning that wild card round game, I think that, that was a big win. A franchise that hasn't had a lot of big wins recently. and has been really, at the bottom of the barrel in the NFL for really quite some time now. But seeing them kind of turn the corner and have a chance, they're going to be a formidable team for the next few years, I think. And getting Calvin Ridley next year is only going to help. Obviously, we'll see how that situation plays out. But I think that I really like this Jags team, actually. I feel like, I knew they were kind of developing the pieces through the year. We played them week 10, I think that was. And at the time, we're a 3-6 team. I think they went to 3-7, rounded up all these wins at the end of the year. And, with Doug Peterson in there and, coaching Trevor Lawrence, I think that is such a big help. And just get him a solid system to work in for, a few years, get comfortable, and see what this team can do. Because I think they did a really smart thing with, I think we all thought that they were kind of crazy for some of the guys that they paid and how much they paid them. Christian Kirk, obviously, mainly. But, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, the way they all mesh together, and then having ETN back there, I really think that this offense could be another, top flight offense. They went, and I feel like they have like a whole bunch of really, really good number twos, if that makes sense. I don't know if they have a true number one, and maybe Calvin Ridley can fill that void. But they did a pretty good job with what they had, and like I said, I think that team is going to be a formidable team to watch over the next few years. And with the AFC South, and kind of the shambles there, and who knows what's going to happen with the Titans. And if they can really be as dominant as they've been, the Colts, another story. We'll see what they do in the draft and in the offseason. And then you got the Texans, who are obviously just in a mess. It was reported that they were trying to get D'Amico Ryans maybe from the San Francisco 49ers, their defensive coordinator, which I think would be, wouldn't be a bad idea. Obviously, the league is going, very offense heavy. So we'll see how that plays out if he gets the job. Obviously, there's a lot of vetting to do there, but the Texans could be a good team if they had somebody that they could give stability. The fact that they only gave Lovie Smith 1 year, insane to me, especially with what he did for that team this year. So we'll see what happens with the Texans, but I think Jacksonville has a good chance at possibly taking that division over for the next few years. So before the weekend was even over, we got some bulletin board material that I've got a couple of clips here to play for you. And it being Friday evening, I'm sure we all have heard of the renaming of Arrowhead Stadium. So I'm going to play the clip from Mike Hilton from the Buffalo Bills game before the game was even over, starting to talk that talk for the Bengals, which, it was in hand. It was over by the time that he was proclaiming this on the sideline. So let's roll the clip. So that's been a funny little statement to roll on this week, calling Arrowhead Burrowhead. I feel like again, it's fun, and all the trash talk back and forth has been fun. I feel like that's one of the, funnest parts about sports. You get to, talk your talk back and forth. It's fun. I feel like going to games, fun time, jabbing back and forth with other people, your other fan bases and whatnot. I always think it's fun. So I've been to Wrigley Field twice as a Cardinals fan, all decked out in Cardinals gear, and all the crazy stuff you hear as a road fan. It's just fun. It's fun banter back and forth, and so I feel like it was a fun thing to say. But I think it gives the Chiefs all the motivation in the world. At the end of the day, Joe Burrow's won one game at Arrowhead, played one game at Arrowhead. He's 1-0. We've seen him one time. It's real easy to be batting 1,000 when you've only taken one at bat. So I definitely think, especially the fans, everyone's riled up. Everyone's ready to go. Everyone's ready to come out, be loud. It's going to be, an electric environment out there on Sunday. I'm sure there's going to be a few Bengals fans. I've already seen a couple around town. So I'm sure that, The Bengals fans travel well. I was shocked last year at how many people were at the AFC Championship games that were Bengals fans. And, going into that game, I feel like there's been a real change to how this feels, if that makes sense. I feel like going into that game last year, I felt invincible as a Chiefs fan. I felt like there was no way the Chiefs were going to roll over this Bengals team that's, yeah, we lost to them. We underestimated them earlier in the year, and we're going to go out there and handle business. The first half looked very much like that. The statistics of first half versus second half between these two teams in these last 3 games are insane. And, somehow you have to fix that if you're the Chiefs. At least that second half, because, the first half they've outscored them crazy. The second half, and obviously because you've got 3 3-point wins over the Chiefs, the second half is extremely lopsided the other way. So the Chiefs are going to have to figure out how to maneuver this game, especially when they come out of the locker room. I'm going to play Travis Kelce's response to the Arrowhead comment on New Heights with Jason Kelce, and we'll go from there.
Getting everybody fired up. We are the loudest stadium in the world on record. 142 decibels.
Did you guys break the record this week?
I don't know. Maybe we're going to have to break it this week because a lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans are calling it Burrowhead instead of
Arrowhead. Whoa!
Yeah.
The disrespect to Arrowhead continues.
They're throwing a lot of bulletin board material out there, Ron.
Definitely a ton of bulletin board material going back and forth. I feel like on the other side, they took the Willie Gay comment of when they asked Willie about the Bengals offense, what he saw that, I can't remember the wording now off the top of my head, but, what he saw out of them, and he essentially said nothing. But I feel like watching that interview, it's kind of, I don't know, to take away from that what they did and made it kind of ran with it. Again, it's fun, the banter back and forth. So, the Bengals taking that personally, but I also feel like part of it is, they're trying to stay ahead. Like they have more to fight for than the Chiefs, and I think the biggest difference between the two teams is, the Bengals, I think they're a team at this point where I feel like they've proved plenty, but I don't think that they've proved what they think that they have. Because at the end of the day, you still didn't capture the Super Bowl a year ago. Absolutely, they'll have all the confidence in the world. They absolutely deserve to have all the confidence that they have rolling through the Bengals organization right now. Again, this Chiefs team hasn't been able to beat the Bengals, and it's been a tough road for these guys, really, with the Bengals, just because of how these games have went. They've been some absolute heartbreakers for the Chiefs. So I'm super interested just to see the flow of the game on Sunday. And really, first let's look at the injury report. So there's no designations for any of the Bengals. For the Chiefs, it's interesting to see who didn't get a designation versus who did. McCole Hardman, again, obviously, the pelvis, he's questionable. Justin Watson had an illness. He's also questionable. Travis Kelce, though, made it to the injury report as questionable on his back. So something that must have happened in practice or something like that. He was supposed to speak to the media and ended up not speaking with the media and instead getting some treatment on his back, I guess. I can't remember exactly who tweeted that out, but I read that on a tweet earlier this afternoon. So really the biggest keys to this game to me are going to come down to a few things. And the first and biggest thing is getting pressure on Joe Burrow. I think that is going to be a huge thing. That they couldn't do it in Week 13. They did not get pressure on Joe Burrow. And the Chiefs, they had a pretty good year. Obviously, they're second in sacks. And, I think as a Chiefs fan, a lot of times we look at some of the, we look into the detail of things and, we don't believe in this pass rush. I think that obviously this is kind of the game, right? Jacksonville we had success against in Week 10. Week 13 we did not have success against the Bengals. And there was a great video on YouTube that I put linked in the article that I wrote for my preview of this game, and just showing how the Bengals have kind of kept the tackles spaced out from the guards a little bit further to give some extra time, get a little bit of leverage on edge guys coming off the side on the rush. And that's really helped Burrow. That's immensely helped Burrow this season. Obviously, last year was just a bad year for Bengals offensive line. And they were not great. So it'll be really interesting. As hot as Kansas City is right now on their side with the pass rush, and, with the Bengals didn't get designation, so I'm unsure exactly who's starting on the Bengals offensive line. I know they were down 3 starters last week. Kind of look that up, but I think it's paramount for the Chiefs to get a good pass rush on Sunday. Obviously, I think that is they really. Oh, okay, so Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa will both be out. So I don't know. I swear when I looked at the card, there was no designation for anyone on the Bengals side. So that's my bad. I guess I missed that earlier. Other guys that made the list on both sides: Willie Gay with the toe, obviously Mahomes with an ankle, McKinnon with an ankle. All 3 of those guys, Willie Gay, Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, all full practices all week. Hardman was light practice every day. Nick Bolton, light practice on Friday. Justin Watson, who didn't practice. Bolton dealing with an ankle, and Juju Smith-Schuster with a knee. He had a light practice on Friday as well. On the other side for the Bengals, Kappa and Williams, as I said, the 2 offensive linemen, neither one of them practice all week. DJ Reader out for some rest on Wednesday, full practice on Thursday, Friday. Light practice for Joe Bacci, the linebacker with a foot injury. He did participate fully on the final day, today, Friday. Trey Flowers with a hamstring. Hubbard got some rest throughout the week. Ted Karras with a knee. He had full practice all week, so their center will be back. Hayden Hurst with a calf, light practice, full practice on Friday. He will be in the game on Sunday. So that was one that we were also kind of wondering about with Hayden Hurst on the Bengals side. So looking like the Bengals still going to be down 2 linemen. They're going to get their center back, which is good news for them. So we'll see how this affects the game, though, with the way that the Bengals try to attack. And looking at the statistics, I mean, it looks like the pressure may really be the key, the number one key, just because the Bengals are 0-3 if they've allowed 5 or more sacks. The Chiefs have had 6 games this year where they've sacked the quarterback 5 or more times. I said in the preview of the game that I wrote earlier today, calling Colin Saunders, Frank Clark, and the CEO of Sack Nation, Chris Jones. We need one of them days on Sunday. So we'll see where it goes. Frank Clark, man, he's just a monster. I mean, the dude just comes alive in the postseason. I feel like there was a lot of Frank Clark slander going around the last couple of years, and I do not approve of the slander of Frank Clark whatsoever. One stat I also saw, it's going to be a cold game. Joe Burrow, I think it was under 40 degrees, is 8-0. So that'll be an interesting, somebody's O has got to go. Going back to kind of like the heartbreaker and kind of what I was talking about earlier, and how all of these games have just been just heartbreakers, down to the wire. And looks like the Chiefs are about to beat them, and here come the Bengals out of nowhere last, minute or so. I mean, the game this year, week 13, the Chiefs were on their way to go up 2 scores in the 4th quarter. And I just don't see a way that the Bengals would have been able to come back from that if the Chiefs score on that drive that Travis Kelce fumbled the football. Right around the 50, Bengals go down and score, It's an entirely different ball game. Harrison Butker missing the attempt to tie the game with 3 minutes 25 seconds left. Just right in the gut. Burrow's Bengals are 3-0, obviously, against these Chiefs. And this is a tweet from Warren Sharp that I'm reading. I also put inside the piece I wrote earlier today for the preview. The Chiefs have led by 18, 14, and 7 points in these games. They have never trailed entering the fourth quarter, have trailed for an average of only 15 minutes each game, 1 quarter out of 4 that they have trailed. And they have trailed for an average of only 7 minutes, 52 seconds in each second half. So for 8 minutes on average of the second half of these games, the Kansas City Chiefs have trailed just 8 minutes out of the 30 minutes. So for majority of the second halves of these games, Kansas City's been up. And, the fumble by Travis Kelce set everything up. It set everything up for these for these Bengals to, turn the corner on that game and end up winning. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to be a heavyweight fight, I think, back and forth with these two teams on Sunday. Also from Warren Sharp, and this one I also put in my blog earlier, is the splits in the first and second half. The splits are just crazy to see. Yards per attempt, 8.8 in the first half versus 5.8 in the second half. 57% completion percentage in the second half versus 75% in the first half. No touchdowns. 2 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes in the second half against these Bengals. And 6 touchdowns with no interceptions in the first half. Crazy stats to read. And the fact of just kind of, the Bengals being able to pick up what the Chiefs are doing, in the tunnel or in the locker room. First half, Kansas City, I spoke on this, leads 59-41. Meanwhile, in the second half, Cincinnati leads 48-19. 48-19 in second halves against Kansas City Chiefs in these 3 games. So, great information. And, they have to be able to turn the corner in this game. And on the defensive side of the ball, you got to get pressure, and they can't sit back in zone. Joe Burrow's absolutely destroyed zone. Joe Burrow's destroyed zone in Buffalo. Joe Burrow destroyed zone against the Chiefs in the first game. Those first 2 drives that they ran primarily zone coverage. 14-0, I think they went out early in that game, the Bengals. And, they just murdered the zone coverage. Just killed it. Third drive, they come out, start to kind of, shift what they're doing defensively, and all of a sudden you get a punt. That was the moment they kind of started coming back in that game. So there's a lot to take from. And then the fact of what the Bengals do on defense. And another video that I watched this week with Kurt Angle. I'm ready for the Royal Rumble tomorrow. But Kurt Warner, QB Confidential, he's got some great stuff on YouTube. Absolutely great stuff. And the breakdown that he had on this game and showing what the Bengals were doing, and I talked about it in my blog of just the edge guy, whoever's on the edge on the defensive line will prop up with Kelce and kind of help put a extra body on Kelce as he's coming out of the break, and then will spy usually, and to have 3 rushers and like 2 spies on Mahomes, and whichever way Mahomes starts to kind of maneuver, boom, that guy comes down. Other side, boom, that guy comes down. So now all of a sudden you've got 4 to 5 rushers on you, when at the beginning of the play, you had a guy in zone. They take away that first level of the field pretty much, the way that they run the defense. And then once you get deep, they start coming at you. So once you start getting those routes deeper, Mahomes needs a little bit more time, needs to maneuver, needs to get around, which, another question, the ankle. What do and how are they going to attack Mahomes with the ankle? Does that change what the Bengals defense is going to do? So I think a lot of what's going to happen on Sunday is really, between these two coaches, big time, and what the, Bieniemy and Spagnuolo are going to draw up versus, Cincinnati's side of what they're going to be doing and how they're going to structure. But the Chiefs, that was another thing I said I would like to see Patrick Mahomes get rid of the ball quickly. I don't want to see some of these plays. The plays that you saw Mahomes running around for his life in the AFC Championship game last year was a direct result, and even some of those plays in Week 13 this year, direct result of what the Bengals are doing to take away that first level at the beginning of the play and then making him move and work to try to find somebody open. Meanwhile, you still have plenty of coverage down the field. Now you got to find a guy, somewhere around in there and try to find something open. Meanwhile, now you're dealing with 4 or 5 rushers. And one thing that I really noticed that jumped out to me, it seemed like almost every time either, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, or Trey Smith, one of those guys up front, were left in no man's land by themselves up there, which means, they're not helping block, which is just what the defense is doing to you. There's nothing really they can do. But it's, the way that they're, using it is so smart because you got that guy up there. I mean, what do? You still got a guy spying right in front of you ready to blitz. So, you turn around and try to help one of your buddies. I mean, now you got another, possibly free rusher. So it's very difficult, I think, for the Chiefs to react to the way the Bengals play them defensively quickly. Maybe they try to blitz more. Maybe they think the ankle is worse than what we've seen. Maybe they try to blitz more. I mean, we know Mahomes is one of the best in the league against the blitz, if not the best quarterback against the blitz. So that's one thing the Bengals have really just tried not to do. They've taken away his legs with spying him and really just done a perfect job with the way that they've defended the Kansas City Chiefs in these games. So I think that's going to be one of the big factors. But again, if you can get some quick plays off, run the football, I think Andy, I really feel like he is going to be okay with relying on the running back. I feel like last week, the play he got hurt on, I felt like right when I saw him drop back to pass, I felt like they should have ran right there. I think it was a first down, but I think it was right after a bigger play or, a play that moved the chains. And I felt like, you needed to run. Then Pacheco, proves himself, busts out that huge run on the Chad Henne drive that really propelled the Chiefs on that drive to, get into the end zone. I think you just have to rely on him more. Jerick McKinnon was averaging 6 yards per carry against the Bengals last year in this AFC Championship game, and he can do that again. The way Jerick McKinnon's played all year, I mean, he has been phenomenal. If you can get Mecole Hardman out there with Kadarius Toney, I mean, we'll see what the Chiefs end up drawing up. I think that they'll have something special planned for this game, a good playbook for this game. I think that we're going to see a lot. We're going to see, everything the Chiefs have, because this is a game that at this point you can't lose it. I feel like this is just a no-lose game. There's so much riding on this game, and, probably the biggest game for the Kansas City Chiefs since the last Super Bowl, I feel, against Tampa Bay. Or maybe even I'd say the Tampa Bay game, but you could argue maybe even the 49ers game, just with what this means, because, the talk of legacy, dynasties, and things like that. I mean, this window that the Chiefs have, which, granted, the Chiefs window is a lot wider than any of these other teams in the AFC. And that's the scariest part, I think, about the Kansas City Chiefs, because like Nick Wright said on, I think that's Speak Up on, I can't remember if that's, I think that's FS1. I don't know, maybe ESPN. Anyways, Nick Wright, he said, you have a year where everybody else bolstered up their lineup, paid millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars for quarterbacks, defense, to stop Mahomes. You look at the Bills are going to be in shambles after this year. I don't want to say shambles. You're still going to have an elite quarterback with Josh Allen, a top, like, second-tier quarterback in this league. I think at the end of the day, Burrow, Mahomes, that's your top tier in this league right now. There's no questions about it. Maybe Jalen Hurts gets back into that conversation next year. Maybe Josh Allen does, but I think right now, Josh Allen, you got to bump him down to the next tier. I mean, Josh Allen is not Joe Burrow. Josh Allen is not Patrick Mahomes. But with the way that they're going to have to pay Josh Allen, they got to, they've got money with Stefon Diggs. They're not going to be able to pay these guys like Gabe Davis. Your defense, Micah Hyde is more than likely gone. I mean, he already wrote a departure post on social media. So more than likely seeing him depart from Buffalo. Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs, they gained cap room. They got more draft picks. They rebuilded this year, essentially. This was a rebuilding team. Remember that from this offseason. This was a rebuilding team. The Chiefs were done. So no matter what happens on Sunday, I think the Chiefs' future is still very, very bright. But still, this game is so meaningful in what it means of what the landscape of the league is. Because this game, if it turns out a loss, it changes the dynamic of the league. Whether the Bengals win or lose the Super Bowl, if they win this game, I think firmly in, most people's minds, Joe Burrow is going to be the top quarterback of this league. Is how the perspective and the narrative is going to go. And especially if, they can get past the Chiefs on Sunday and win a Super Bowl, essentially Mahomes and Burrow will be just about even, minus 2 MVPs. But this is a legacy game, and I feel like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and we know how Patrick Mahomes operates. We know Patrick Mahomes is very aware of all the accolades, all of the, talk. Patrick Mahomes stays very aware of what people are talking about, what people are saying, and I think that Sunday is going to be, I've been feeling real bullish on this Red Friday Chiefs Kingdom, and I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs pulled this off. I think it's still close. 24-21 is what I had as my final score prediction. I think the Chiefs win this game. I think Mahomes does everything he can, everything in his power. I think this defense continues to step up. This defense is having fun. Seeing Frank Clark out there having fun again with the rest of these guys and producing in the postseason. I mean, tying Reggie White for postseason sacks. It has been awesome to watch what Frank Clark has done for this team when most of this fan base did not want Frank Clark anywhere near this 2022 team. So seeing that as a huge Frank Clark fan, probably my personal favorite defensive player of this, era of Chiefs football. I mean, it's been amazing to see the way that he's played down the stretch and in this game, and I'm right there with the rest of the kingdom. I couldn't be more excited for this football game on Sunday. I cannot wait to get out there and tailgate, get ready, get loud in the stadium, and let me know your guys' prediction, though. Hit me on Twitter at Papa_Shro. Let me know what you're thinking about this game this weekend. Let me know who you got. Your Super Bowl prediction. Whatever you want to let me know. Who you got this weekend? Who you're riding with? Why you think that? And if you're enjoying the podcast, give me a rating. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're at. Subscribe to the Substack. I'm trying to put out as many blogs as I can. Just covering these Chiefs here down the stretch. Either way, finish up the football season and probably move on to baseball, then trying to, follow the UFC a little bit more closely. Trying to give some MMA content where I can. So appreciate if you listen through the whole thing. Again, let me know what you're thinking for this weekend. Who's going to the Super Bowl? We will see you on the other side of Sunday. Have a good weekend and go Chiefs.